Welcome back to Top 5. The jungle seemed to hold its breath as Andrei stood frozen, eyes darting through the thick underbrush. The soft sounds of rustling leaves grew louder, more pronounced, echoing the panic pounding in his chest. He squinted into the shadows, trying to decipher what lurked beyond the curtain of greenery. Suddenly, a large figure burst through the foliage, a wild boar, its bristled fur glinting in the last light of day. It snorted angrily, eyes wide, before bolting away, disappearing into the depths of the jungle. Andrei exhaled a shaky breath, realizing how foolish he had been to panic. But the confrontation with his fear left him unnerved, reminding him of his vulnerability in this unpredictable wilderness. With a shaky resolve, he moved from the edge of the stream and into deeper foliage, seeking any semblance of shelter. The canopy above was thick, blocking out the dying sunlight, and the atmosphere felt heavy, suffocating. He stumbled upon a cluster of large, gnarled trees, their roots twisted and sprawling. Nestled among them was a small clearing, and for now, it would have to do. Andrei gathered fallen branches and leaves, fashioning a crude barrier on one side to shield him from whatever lurked in the creeping shadows. As he sat in the makeshift shelter, the reality of his isolation pressed down on him. He thought back to the last moments with Valeria and her lethal confidence. What did she mean by broken? What were the lengths to which she would go to teach him a lesson? The sun sank lower, bathing the jungle in a murky twilight. He could barely make out the shapes of the trees, and shadows danced between the trunks, taking on distorted and haunting entities. He tried to quiet his racing heart, but each rustle of the leaves sent him spiraling back into memories of the night at the club, Maria, Valeria, the drugs, the cold steel of the syringe piercing his skin, and that chilling promise of survival. As darkness enveloped him, the cacophony of the jungle grew louder, an orchestra of chirps, howls, and rustles heightening his anxiety. With nothing to stave off the cold creeping in with the night, he curled up, wrapping his arms around himself in a desperate bid for warmth. Suddenly, from the corner of his eye, he caught a glimmer of movement. His heart pounded in his chest as he squinted into the darkness. It might be nothing, but then again, it might not be. He cleared his throat, admonishing himself for being so paranoid. Suddenly, he heard a soft voice, slim and sweet yet laced with a sharp bite. "You look lost, pretty boy." Andrei's breath caught in his throat as he turned to see a girl standing just outside the reached shadows of his crude hiding place. The moonlight caught her silhouette, revealing features that were delicate yet defined, wild curls framed her face, and sharp, intelligent eyes glimmered with mischief. She held a thin, bent branch, the sharp tip catching the faint light. "Who are you?" he croaked, instinctively getting to his feet, trying to maintain a semblance of authority. The girl stepped closer, her expression unreadable. "Call me Lila. You're far from home, and I wonder what makes a man like you end up here." Andrei scanned her, bewildered. "Do you know Valeria Delgado?" Her laughter was light but tinged with something deeper. "Ah, so it begins. The famous Andrei Collins gets knocked down a few pegs. She's quite the woman, isn't she? But I wouldn't waste my breath seeking her approval. You won't find her extending a hand." Andrei felt anger bubble within him. "I don't need her approval. I need to get out of here." Lila cocked her head, curiosity flickering in her gaze. "And how do you plan to do that, Mr. Collins? You think your old life matters here? Out there, you walked on runways and turned heads. Here, you're just meat. Pray." Before he could retort, she continued, "But maybe I can help you." "Help? Why would you help me?" Andrei narrowed his eyes, his instincts warning him to be cautious. He was a rabbit in a den of wolves, and here was yet another wolf, half veiled in shadows. She took a step forward, the moonlight illuminating her face. Because we're not so different, you and I. I've survived these jungles longer than you've been roaming the city streets. I know the secrets that can keep you alive. But mind you, help doesn't come without a cost. What do you want? Andrei asked, the edge of his voice laced with suspicion. A chance to take from this world what it's taken from me. Join me, together we could navigate this mess. I've learned things, found ways to survive. You may have your status in the city, but in the wilderness, it means nothing. Her eyes sparkled with a fierce determination, infectious in its zeal. Why would I team up with you? Andrei countered, heart racing as he felt the walls closing in. He wasn't sure he could trust her but realized the stark truth that shone in her words. Alone, he'd be a victim to the elements and whatever dark entity Valeria had unleashed. Because staying alone is going to get you killed, she replied, with conviction ringing in her voice. The jungle has its rules, obey or perish. As the darkness thickened around them, Andrei felt an unexpected flicker of hope. Maybe this enigmatic girl was right. The wilderness had become his captor, a twisted parallel to Valeria's ice grip on the urban world. Survival was a game, and he knew he hadn't played it until now. All right, he said, meeting her gaze head-on, ready to take a risk for a chance at freedom. I'll join you. Just, what's the plan? Lila grinned, a sharp, predatory expression. First things first, we need to learn how to hunt. And then, well, let's see what the jungle has to offer that Valeria wouldn't dare touch. And as they began to strategize, Andrei felt a shred of power returning. Perhaps this land, inhospitable and daunting, held the key to reclaiming what he'd lost. The jungle would not break him. With Lila by his side, he would not only survive but also learn to dominate the very wilderness that sought to swallow him whole. In the heart of the wild, his journey began anew. Andrei and Lila moved with a cautious energy through the dense jungle, the chaos of sounds enveloping them like a symphonic whirl. The humidity clung to their skin as they navigated the underbrush, Lila leading the way with an expertise that mesmerized Andrei. She taught him to identify edible plants, where to find fresh water, and, most critically, how to listen to the whispers of the wild. Stay alert, she instructed, her eyes scanning the canopy. Every creature here is either a potential meal or a predator. It's vital to know the difference. Predator, Andrei muttered, a bitter taste on his tongue. The word felt heavy, a reminder of why he was out here, Valeria's relentless grip over him, the discompound of his previous life. But here, he had a chance to reclaim some semblance of control. They had spent the day gathering supplies and planning their next move. With sunset encroaching on the horizon, they sought shelter for the night. Lila explained they needed to avoid open areas, opting instead for a grove of thick trees, where they could work on a basic defense strategy. Tomorrow we'll hunt, she said, with an enthusiasm that coursed through the thick air. And if we're lucky, maybe we'll find some more permanent shelter. They chose their campsite carefully, surrounded by a ring of large trees to shield them. As the darkness fell, Andrei felt the chill of the night settling in, but Lila had sparked a flicker of hope inside him. Surviving the first night together further solidified an unspoken bond. They were now comrades in this unforgiving world. Sleep was fitful as the jungle roared with life. Andrei drifted into unconsciousness, his dreams haunted by images of Valeria, silent and patient like a spider waiting for her prey. When dawn broke, its rays filtering through the dense foliage, Andrei awoke to Lila's gentle nudging. Time to rise, sleeping beauty. We have work to do. They set off with makeshift spears made from sharpened branches and launched into the day with vibrant energy. Andrei began to embrace his new reality, accepting that he needed to adapt or perish. The fear that had gripped him yesterday began to transform into a determined zeal to thrive. As they navigated deeper into the jungle, Lila suddenly paused, raising a finger to her lips. Andrei froze, heart racing. The world around them seemed to quiet as they listened closely. In the distance, he heard it, a deep, guttural sound resonating through the trees. "What is that?" Andrei whispered, feeling the tension coil in the air. Lila's face darkened. "That's not good. We need to move, now." Just as they began to retreat, the ground trembled in a low, ominous cadence. Andrei turned slowly, dread pooling in his stomach as the source of the sound emerged from beyond the trees, a massive bear, its thick fur bristling in the morning light. The bear was colossal, muscles rippling under its coat as it ambled closer, sniffing the air. Its nose twitched, eyes fixed on them with a wild, primal intensity. For a moment, time stood still as the realization settled in. The two of them, armed with nothing more than sharpened sticks, were face to face with a creature that could obliterate them in seconds. "Stay calm," Lila whispered, barely audible. "Back away slowly." Andrei's hands trembled, sweat trickling down his spine as they slowly stepped back. The bear surged forward, snorting, asserting its dominance over the strangers in its territory. "There's nowhere to go," Andrei hissed, panic gripping him. "What do we do?" Lila's voice was steady, her gaze unwavering. "We stand our ground. Bears usually only attack if they feel threatened." "Feel threatened? We're in its territory," Andrei exclaimed, adrenaline coursing through him. As if sensing the heightened fear radiating from them, the bear paused, its eyes narrowing. It took a step forward, massive paws thumping against the ground, the soft earth beneath them trembling.